what support do you get from all the good work that Sport Relief do?
Hey people, Doc again. Today we're going to do an oil change on the VN 900. In America it's called a Vault gun. So my assistant Logan, my son, is helping me. These are the tools you're going to need. Obviously a new oil filter, Allen keys, an oil wrench of some description, oil, socket set, and a drain pan for the old oil. So without further ado, we'll have a look at the bike and start him up. Right, Logan, my son, is holding the oil pan. I've got a 17mm socket on the wrench. The bolt you've got to undo first of all is that doodah there. I can hand the phone over to Logan, slacken him off, and then I'll slide the pan underneath and we can leave the oil go on running out while we get all the front side off. Okay, 17mm socket on the drain bolt. I've already cracked him, so he's going to be nice and loose. We get our drain pan, put a drain pan underneath, and then I'm going to slacken the bolt off with my finger, holding pressure up until I can feel that the bolt is there or thereabouts, right off the thread, and then I'll bring my hand away quick and the oil should empty out. You will have some oil come through anyway, but I can feel this almost to the end of that bolt. So I'm going to leave him go and the oil will come out quick. There he goes. So come back up to me. Now they do advise, don't you, Logan, that you replace the crush washer every time, but I usually go 3 or 4 oil changes before I replace the oil drain plug itself with a new washer. It's only a few pounds, so it's worth doing every 3 or 4 changes. So as you can see, the oil is draining out nice now. We'll give the plug a little clean, leave the oil, carry on draining, and we'll swap to the front of the bike, take the covers off and get to the oil filter. Okay, while the oil is draining out into the drain pan, our next job is to take the rectifier cover off, the rectifier and the rectifier bracket, in order to get to the oil filter, which is hidden behind. You're going to be using a 4mm Allen key on these bolts and then a 10mm socket on the rectifier. So I'll get my knee pad and then we can start loosening these bolts off. 4mm Allen key, crack them off. Good tip: righty tighty, lefty loosey. Right to tighten, left to loosen. Works on any bolts. Easy way to remember. So just take the bolts out, put them to one side. I don't know why they fitted the rectifier in front of the oil filter, but in their great wisdom they thought it was a good idea. It's just potchy to get to. That's the cover out. So now we've got to swap to a 10mm socket. You've got a bolt on the top and a bolt on the bottom of the rectifier itself. Again, these shouldn't be super tight because they're on a rubber mount for vibration anyway. Alright, that's your rectifier. You can unplug it if you want, or you can just leave it hang down out of the way. As long as you're not stretching on the cables, it should be okay. Again, we got 2 more bolts for the actual carrier to take out, and then we should be able to get to the oil filter itself. There's one. Now if you're not sure about these bolts, because they are different sizes and slight different thicknesses, what you can do is you can either bag them with a Ziploc bag and write on them which part they came from, or take photos with your camera. So there's the bracket. I think before I put the bracket back on, I'll give them a little spray up and a clean up. Now I can see a little bit of corrosion starting, and that should give us access to our oil filter, which is there. But before we undo the oil filter, I'll go and check the drain pan and see if there's any more oil still coming out. If not, I'll put the plug back in and then move the pan forward to catch any drops of oil from the actual filter itself. Right, I've got my little adjustable oil filter spanner, wrench, plug, whatever you want to call it, 3-arm prong. So all you do is you put that onto your oil filter, start loosening, and it'll automatically close up around the filter and grip. Now your filter shouldn't be on that tight anyway, so you should only have to barely get him moving. May take a few turns for him to grip, because obviously this is catching all the crud. There he goes. Once you've got him loose, you can do the rest by hand. Now you are going to have oil coming out, that's why I've moved the pan forward, still catching from the drain plug, because there was a little bit still dripping, but I'm still going to catch from the oil filter itself. There will be a fair bit of oil in this, so try and dump this straight into the pan if you can. So again, we leave that drain out 5-10 minutes, and we can come back, put the new filter on, put our oil plug on, and then refill with our oil. Right, we're ready to put the new oil filter back on, the oil plug back in, and top up with oil. First thing to do, check your oil filter, the old oil filter, that the rubber seal is still on there, that it's not stuck to the face of the bike. If that's okay, you need to put a little bit of oil into your filter just to start with. Not a lot. You haven't got to fill him up, because what will happen when you tip it up to put it on the bike, it'll all spill out. But you need a little bit in there to start. And what I always do, bit of oil on your finger around the seal, just to stop that binding on the face of the engine when you're tightening it up. And when you put the oil filter back on, you only do this hand tight. I'll show you that when we have a look at the bike. Right, as you can see, I've given everything a little wipe over, made sure that the face that the oil filter rubber is going to seat against is nice and clean, no dirt, debris or rust, and the old rubber seal isn't there. We've got our new fresh oil filter with a little bit of oil in and a little bit of oil around the seal. So it's just a case now of threading this back on. They're very fine threads, so they take forever to thread back in. And now these only have to be hand tight. Once you can feel the rubber seating against the engine, half a turn and that should be it. That's all you need. You don't need to go cranking on it. Your tool won't allow you to tighten up anyway, because it only tightens when you loosen, so you can't use that. Just check him, hand tight, that's all you need. Right, so we'll put the drain plug back in and then we're ready to fill with oil. Right, we've got a sump plug. I've given it a little clean. Like I said, I'll change this now, the next oil change. It's up to you if you want to do it every one. It's entirely your choice. So we'll just pop this back in, making sure and careful not to cross thread. Just hand tight at the moment, just to stop it dripping, while I can pull the oil pan out of the way. And careful not to spill any of the oil. Now's a good time to have a quick look at your oil. Dip your finger in, pull it back out, and then feel the oil. You shouldn't really feel any big lumps or bits of metal in there. You should have a nice smooth feeling. You'll have a little bit of pull between your fingers for the viscosity. But because I change the oil regular on the bike, I know that there's no problem with the engine from previous changes. So, clean your fingers back off. 17mm spanner back on. Socket back on, sorry. Tighten up the sump plug. Now again, refer to your manufacturer's handbook. I nip him up from experience, but if you're not sure, refer to your manufacturer's handbook and you'll have a torque setting to tighten this back up to. It's entirely up to you. You don't want to go cranking on it because it's only aluminium it's threaded into, but there, I know that's tidy. So give underneath a clean. Wipe any excess oil off. Any drips. And then we're ready to refill the system with oil before we put the rectifier and everything back on, just to make sure that we haven't got any drips, any oil leaks coming from anywhere that we shouldn't. Right, so we're ready to start putting oil back in the bike. First thing I always do, check with your handbook. Now this is an American handbook because you can't get them in the UK for this particular model, but I got this in from the States, so I've checked through. This will actually tell me, if I look at lubricants and fluids, that engine oil, it gives me the type, the viscosity. If I only change the oil itself, 3 litres, oil and filter 3.2, or when the engine is completely dry, 3.7. So what I'll do to start with is I'll only put 3 litres in to start, level the bike, check the level and go from there. Right, our filler plug is on the left hand side of the bike. It's the plug, funny enough, that says oil. So I've loosened him off already. Always use a wide screwdriver with a rag if you can, just to protect your chrome work. He's loose already. So I'll take the filler plug out. Put him to one side where he can't get damaged. And I've made a little, you can get funnels, you can get scoops, you can buy loads of different devices to help you fill the oil. I personally use an old drinks bottle that'll fit into the hole nice, and instead of just cutting the end off, I make a little scoop out of the end so that I can put the bottle in once he's cleaned out, obviously, and start filling with oil. Now, like I said, I'm only going to put 3 litres in to start with, but I'm only going to put probably about 1 litre in. Have a look, check all around the bike to make sure that we got no oil coming out, there's no drips. It all seems dry. If you're not sure and you're working on your own, you can put a piece of cardboard underneath and then you can see if there's any oil dripping onto the cardboard. With this method you will have a little bit left in the bottom of the bottle, that's just part of it. So it's just a case of slowly filling back up. Checking on your oil can. Most of them come with a side view. This one is a 4 litre can, so once I'm down to 3 litres I'll stop and check my levels. You can see the difference in the colour of the oil, how clear and amber colour this one is compared to the oil that came out. Yet the oil that came out was only changed about 2,000 miles ago. So I'm going to check my bottle, see how much I put in. So I'm roughly on the 2 litre mark. So that means I've put roughly 2 litres in, so another litre, and then we can have a look, start checking our oil levels. If for any reason you do put too much oil in, then all you'll have to do is undo your drain plug and drain a little bit of oil back out. Right, so I'm going to leave it at that. Check my oil level. Check I've got no drips, no runs or leaks of oil, and if not, I'll replace my rectifier and the cover. That can go back on and be finished with. Then we can concentrate on getting the right oil level. Ready to start building. As you can see, I just give the bracket a quick spray over some black I had, just to help protect it a little bit more. There's a little bit of corrosion on it, nothing major, but every little helps, as they say. So again, taking the right bolts now that I remembered in sequence, we can start putting the bracket back on. Just finger tighten everything first until you've got everything where it should be, because if you've got to move anything, you're just going to have to crack it back off. So once you're happy where the bracket's going, tighten them back up. Now again, you haven't got a crank on these. There will be torque settings in your manual. If you want to look those up, it's entirely up to you, because they are on a rubber bracket as well. So then your rectifier lifts back in. Can be a bit fiddly because it's hard to see really what you're doing sometimes with the bikes, but a lot of the time you'll go by feel. So again, I'm not going to crank these up like a monkey boy because they're on a rubber mount. Just going to pinch them up. If you want to check the manufacturer's specifications for the torque settings, that's entirely your choice, but I know from experience that that's tight enough. That's all that's left to go on is the front cover. We'll just give him a little clean up. Now he's off. This is what takes all the stone chips, the bangs, the dints, all the crud from the road comes up, and this saves your rectifier. So if you haven't got one on the rectifier, make sure you either get one made or pick one up off the internet. This goes on. Now normally I would put some Loctite on these, but because they have a spring washer, what that means is when you tighten that washer down, it constantly puts pressure on the head of the screw, so it can't back out. But normally anything like that didn't have a spring washer, I'd put Loctite back on, just because a motorbike vibrates a lot more than a car. Again, just pinch them up. You haven't got to go swinging on them. spring washer is going to hold the head in under pressure, so they can't back out. Everything's back as it should be. Have a final check round. Make sure you got no leaks, no drips, and then we can carry on now with putting the correct amount of oil in the bike. Right, so we're ready now to do the finishing level on the oil. Everything is back together, there's no leaks, no drips, no oil spilling out. So to know how far we need to go with our oil, we've got a little oil glass. Now the oil level needs to be halfway up that glass when the bike itself is level. Now if you look at my previous video, I've showed you how to check this level on your own using a little inspection mirror, or like today I've got my son with me, Logan. I'll hold the bike and he can physically look and see how much oil is in the window. So we'll do that. I'll get on the bike. Logan will go back down and look in the window and tell me where the oil level is.
Needs to come up more. It's just about at the bottom.
Just touching the bottom, is it?
Yep.
Right, so we know we've got to put more oil in